Senator Kennedy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the people of in the Middle East, and too often today, the symbol of America is not the Statue of Liberty. It's the prisoner standing on a box wearing a dark cape and a dark hood on his head, wires attached to his bodies, afraid that he's going to be electrocuted. And these incidents of torture and abuse have resulted in a catastrophic crisis of credibility for our nation. Now, since the beginning of the war, the International Committee of the Red Cross provided the Pentagon officials with reports of abuses at this prison, saying that some of them were tantamount to torture. They issued serious complaints during an inspection of the prison in October of 2003 and at several other times. The State Department and the Coalition Provisional Authority appealed to you to stop the mistreatment of the military detainees. Secretary Powell raised this issue at cabinet meetings and elsewhere, pleading with officials from your department, Mr. Secretary, to see that detainees were properly cared for and treated, and your department failed to act. The military leadership put the troops in charge of the prison who weren't trained to do the job, and they assigned far too few prisoners to the prison that were required to do the job right. And they relied on the civilian contractors to perform military duties, as I understand, including the interrogation of Iraqi prisoners. And as Senator Levin pointed out, the top-level defense officials directed guards at the prison to set physical and mental conditions for favorable interrogation of the detainees, a decision that directly resulted in the abuses. And the military leadership failed to respond in a systematic way even after it initiated the 35 criminal investigations into alleged mistreatment of detainees in Iraq and Afghanistan, 25 of these investigations involving in deaths. I know the Secretary Brownlee referred to this. In particular, in December of 2002, military doctors at the Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan ruled that 2 Afghan men in U.S. custody died from blunt force injuries. No one in the military has been held accountable for those homicides. You and your senior leadership have shown, I believe, a disregard for the protection of the Geneva Conventions in detainee operations. In January 2002, you were asked why you believe the Geneva Conventions do not apply to detainees in Guantanamo. You replied that you did not have the slightest concern about their treatment in light of what has occurred in 9/11. According to the New York Times, you have known about the graphic photographs, evidence of abuse in the Ghraib prison since mid-January. You told President Bush about these reports of abuse shortly thereafter. And yet, rather than work with Congress to deal with the problem together, you and other top Defense Department officials have apparently spent the last 3 weeks in preparing a public relations plan. Can you tell us what exactly did you tell the President about these reports of abuse in late January, and what did he say, and what did you do about it, and why month after month after month had to pass before anything has happened? And then we find out that the pictures came out and the President is indeed angry.
First, Senator Kennedy, your statement that other agencies of government were concerned about detainees and the Department of Defense failed to act is simply not correct.
This wasn't brought to your attention by the Secretary, by the State Department?
I did not say that. I said your statement that the Department of Defense...
Well, it was brought to you then by the State Department. We don't want to parse words. Was this brought to you by the State Department? I mentioned Secretary Powell. Question is whether this was brought to you, and when did you know? When did you know it? You gave us a laundry list in your presentation about the timeline on it. I'm trying to find out, because it's been published, that you were notified about this a series of times and advised to do something about it. Nothing was done.
It's not correct to say nothing was done. You're making a set of conclusions that are just simply not accurate. We've had numerous discussions interagency on detainees. All in all, there have been some 43,000 people were captured or detained in Iraq, of whom 31,850 have already been released. That is a big task for the Army to undertake. The actions of the ICRC, you said they came in and indicated concerns about the Abu Ghraib prison. That's correct. And the prison officials began the process of making corrections, and the general's report, Taguba, found that a number of those things were already underway in terms of corrections, and when he made his study, a number of additional things and corrections were made. So it seems to me that the ICRC report was helpful, and that the military command, as I understand it, undertook a series of corrections. Now, with respect to when were we knowledgeable of this? The situation was this. Specialist Darby told the CID that he had information about abuses in the prison. I believe it was on the 13th or 14th of January. By the 15th or 16th, an investigation had been initiated, and the Central Command's public affairs people went out and told the world. They told everyone in the world that there were allegations of abuse and they were being investigated. Again, by mid-March, when some criminal, I don't know the legal term, but some criminal actions were initiated, the Central Command's public affairs people went out again and announced that not only were there allegations of abuses, but they listed the types of abuses, and then this is to the world. Everyone knew it. CNN was there asking questions. And that is the time frame when General Myers and I were meeting with the president and discussed the reports that we had obviously heard, because they weren't hiding anything. They disclosed it to the world.
Thank you, Senator.